Arlington, Virginia is consistently ranked as one of the top places in the country to live. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the actual costs of living in Arlington, Virginia. If you're considering moving here, you'll know exactly how much it costs. And a little background on me, I grew up in Arlington, live in Arlington, and I'm also an Arlington, Virginia real estate agent. So generally speaking, Arlington, Virginia is gonna be 41% higher than the national average for the cost of living. And to put that in a little bit better perspective, the study measured 273 cities, and Arlington was ranked as the 15th most expensive. So in other words, we're not New York City or San Francisco or Los Angeles where everything costs $2 million and it's just insanely high. However, we are gonna be more expensive. It's a great place to live. A lot of people wanna live here. So it's, there's a lot of amenities and proximity to things. So it's gonna be more expensive. Now let's actually break down the different costs of living. So as far as housing costs go, Arlington was the 18th most expensive place in the country to purchase a property. DC was a little bit higher at number 14, and the median single family home in Arlington is about 1.2. However, you can still get a very nice place for a 900,000, even in the 800K range. Once you get into the 700K range for a single family house in Arlington, it's more or less just gonna be a tear down property, which is happening all over the county. The median price for a townhouse is $675,000, and the median price of a condo is about $500K. However, the great thing about Arlington is that there's tons of newer properties and luxury properties that are really pushing this median price up. However, there's tons of options that are maybe a little bit older properties or maybe need a little bit of work or maybe a little bit smaller that are significantly less expensive than these median prices here. And obviously it also depends what part of Arlington you live in. South Arlington is generally speaking going to be a lot less expensive than North Arlington. Pretty much the closer you are to the metro, obviously the more expensive it's going to be. But South Arlington is great because you have all the amenities of Arlington in terms of restaurants, and even though you might not have the same metro access, you're still very close to tons of different restaurants, parks, shops, and just minutes from DC. As far as the rental market goes, the median single family rent is going to be about $4,000. For townhouses, it's going to be about $3,000, and the median rent for apartments is going to be about $2,200 a month. And that includes apartments, studio apartments, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms. That includes the entire spectrum of apartments. And this ranks within the top 10 most expensive in the country. So, the housing costs are definitely more expensive here. Next up, we have the taxes. Now, there's property taxes, personal income taxes, different taxes. When taking everything into account, most different studies I've seen rank Virginia as kind of in the middle. So it's about the 25th best state in terms of all different types of taxes. And most people who have done studies will say it's a little bit better than Maryland, a little bit better than DC. Obviously it's not Florida. People don't typically move to Virginia just for the taxes, but it's not that bad either. It's about 25 out of 50. Now let's talk about transportation. So transportation costs here are going to be about 9% more expensive than the national average. What I would say about Arlington though, it has some of the best transportation options available in the country in terms of public transportation. And also a lot of people in Arlington have cars. You don't necessarily need a car in Arlington. There's great bike routes. There's the metro line. There's bus lines. There's car share programs. There's a lot of different options. And unlike DC, you're typically not going to have to rent out a garage space. If you're in Roslyn or Boston, you might pay extra to rent out a garage space. But most neighborhoods in Arlington, there's going to be street parking. You might have a driveway, or you could just park in the zoned parking for that neighborhood. Another good thing about transportation in Arlington, there's very few cameras, like traffic cameras for speeding and different things like that. When you're in DC and Maryland, there's going to be many more traffic cameras. Sometimes there's even been articles in DC about almost abusive practices with the traffic cameras where they're fining people $100 for borderline traffic infractions. In Arlington, you definitely still have some traffic cameras, but it's nowhere you're not going to get fined like you do. Every time I'm in Maryland or DC, I seem to get a ticket, even though I don't even really speed or try not to do anything that would violate any of the laws. And what's also great about Arlington is that you're very close to 2 airports. So DCA Airport is actually located in Arlington. It's just a $10, $15, maybe $20 Uber ride to DCA Airport. It only takes about 10, 15 minutes. Always go add some extra time if you're going to the airport. And then you're also close to Dulles Airport, airport for more of the international flights. And growing up in Arlington, because you had so much convenience with buses, metro, walkability, everything like that, I remember people saying, you know, hey, I have a BMW, bus, metro, walk. So that's kind of how you can think of Arlington. You can have a car if you want, but you definitely don't need one. So real quick, 10 seconds. If you're looking to buy or sell or have any questions about living in Arlington, shoot me a text or give me a call at this number. I would love to assist. Okay, let's talk about the cost of groceries. So the groceries are gonna be about 10% more expensive. And I don't know how they come up with these stats. They measure the cost of broccoli across 50 different states. I don't really know how they come up with this. But the good thing about Arlington is that you have every type of grocery store out there. There's dozens and dozens of grocery stores. You have the Whole Foods where you can spend a ton of money. You have lower end grocery stores. You have everything in between. There's Safeway, Trader Joe's, Harris Teeter, Mom's Organic, Giant. There's a Wegmans close by. And it seems like no matter what part of Arlington you're in, you're pretty much just like 5 minutes away from a pretty big grocery store. In terms of dining out, there's a lot of restaurants in Arlington ranging from like some of the smaller like casual to go places. There's a lot of great ethnic restaurants in Arlington. And then you have some of the more formal, higher end, ethnic, American, different types. There's a lot of different cultures here. So you have pretty much every type of price range, culture, and most of the restaurants are gonna be like in the Clarendon area, Ballston area, Shirlington area. But then you also have different restaurants kind of spread out throughout the community. And then if you wanna use like Uber Eats, that's just gonna be crazy expensive. It's gonna be like $30 for a freaking sandwich. So I'd recommend probably just ordering at one of the, if you're just trying to get something to go, there's dozens of really good restaurants around Arlington where you can just order something to go, pick it up, save yourself about 20 bucks. Let's talk a little bit about entertainment costs. So you have the Washington Capitals, you have DC United, you have the Nationals, you also have the football team, the Commanders, but no one really goes to those games anyways. And the football stadium is out in the middle of nowhere. It's like 45 minutes away from Arlington, and then driving back is a hassle. I'd recommend you just save your $50. Actually, for a Commanders game, it's probably gonna be significantly more than that. Save that money, just order some food and have a good time at home, of course. But in terms of the Cavs, DC United, and Nationals, $50 will get you a long ways. Nationals tickets are extremely inexpensive, and you can also get great deals with DC United as well as the Capitals. And it's just a short Uber ride away from Arlington. You know, a lot of times people might also take the Metro. If you're, you know, around the Metro during one of these games, you'll see a ton of people wearing jerseys. So there's a lot of different ways you can get to these games. Very inexpensive ways. And then if you want to take an Uber during prime time, it might only cost you 20 or 30 bucks. In terms of theaters, there's a lot of actual theaters like the Kennedy Center, Arena Stage, and a few local theaters in Arlington. And then you also have a lot of movie theaters nearby. There's, you know, 3 or 4 movie theaters. I can't remember the last movie I went to, but I know with the movies nowadays, they're making more of the higher end options, more of the luxury seating, and you can order all types of food and drinks. So definitely worth checking out. In terms of the cost of schools, if you're gonna do private schools, again, Arlington has a ton of different options. There's private schools that aren't that expensive, like relatively speaking for private school. And then you can spend a fortune on some private schools. I grew up with kids, I went to a public school, but I knew some kids that, you know, spent like college tuition on different private schools. But there's also kids that went to private schools that weren't that expensive, relatively speaking. However, the public schools in Arlington are some of the best in the country, so those are worth a look as well. The healthcare costs here are gonna be about 12% higher than the national average. But what's great about Arlington being centrally located, you have a lot of different hospitals, a lot of different care facilities, and a lot of different options. The utility costs here are going to be about the national average. So what's cool about Arlington is we do have 4 seasons. So it's not like you're in Florida where you have to run the AC on full blast like year round. We're going to have 4 seasons where some, you know, in the fall or maybe in the spring, you might not have to run the AC or the heat because it's nice out. Let's talk a little bit about the cost of gyms and fitness. So Arlington is actually the fittest city or county in the entire United States, which I guess is good or bad if you like to work out, but there are a ton of gym options. So you have everything ranging from more of like the corporate, like the Gold's Gym. I actually prefer like Gold's Gym. You have some of the bigger like chain fitness places. And then you have a ton of like group fitness, boutique classes. You have like Metabolic, Orange Theory, E60. There's all these different groups and classes. I think you even have a Planet Fitness in there. And what some people do is they might have like a membership at one of the bigger gyms, and then they'll also like have some like yoga class or something that they go to like meet people and that type of thing. Cause there's just so many different options options. I mean, you could really make a list of like the top 3 or 4 gyms in Arlington, check out a few, and then keep your membership at a couple of them. Because there's so much competition, you know, the gyms want more people to sign up, so maybe they're willing to give you a better deal. Let's talk about the shopping. So in Arlington, you have 2 different malls. You have Pentagon City Mall, which attracts a lot of tourists, but it also has some higher end shopping and like everything in between. And it's a pretty big mall. And then you also have the Ballston Corridor Mall, which was redeveloped, and that has a lot of options. And then if you want like more like higher end shopping, you know, you have Georgetown, which is right across the Key Bridge, just minutes away from Arlington. And then you can also drive about 15-20 minutes to the Tyson's area. It has Tyson's Galleria if you want to drop, you know, $10,000 on a bag, clothing, whatever you want. The next cost, and we are really covering every type of cost in this video, is talk about male haircuts. So my haircut, believe it or not, costs $70 because I shape up the beard a little bit, and you know, I tip pretty well. You know, I think a trend with Arlington is that you can spend $70 on a buzz cut, but there's also like lower end options, if you want to call it that, as well. And that pretty much applies for everything. There's higher end options, lower end options. You have a lot of options when it comes to, you know, what you want to spend in Arlington. Overall, Arlington offers great convenience, walkability, right next to the nation's capital, and tons of different amenities. So if you're looking to buy or sell in Arlington, shoot me a text or give me a call at this number. I would love to help you out.